frightened. I was pregnant at the time with my
Oh
second,
my.
and yeah, I know. So I watched episode 4, and I was
Oh
just a
my
shoot
God.
a few. I know, a few weeks short of my due date. Because I remember it was like early November, and he was born on the 14th of November, and I was absolutely petrified that I was going to have to go through a C-section like that. But yeah, so it's just the intensity and those like Rick moments, and yeah,
Mhm.
and the
Mm,
gore and stuff.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
good.
It was a good one. It was thrilling.
Yeah.
So, well, let's get into it. Walking Dead, season 3, episode 2, Sick. Why is it called Sick, anyways?
I was going to ask you guys this. Why is it called Sick?
I looked at the wiki, and it's because one of the characters say when they go outside and see all the bodies, like dead bodies, they go sick. I think it's Oscar. He
Oh,
goes,
yeah.
"Oh,
Mm.
sick," or something like that. So that's why they called it sick.
Oh, because it's
So
just sick.
according to
Yeah.
the
Interesting.
wiki, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. Well, if he says
Yeah.
it, that makes total sense. So, what did you think? Well, you just kind of said what you thought. Do you have anything else to say in general about it before we get into our points, Gemma?
Um, just Rick and Laurie's relationship, and I'll touch on my points.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Lucy, what about you? How's it to watch this one again?
Oh, I enjoyed it. It kind of merges into episodes 1 and 4, because in 3 I don't think
Yeah.
we're in the prison at all. So it was fun to remember exactly what happened in this episode and how high the stakes were.
Mhm.
And it's so bleak in retrospect, not just seeing how Laurie is in this episode, but also watching Rick let Andrew go and the repercussions that's going to have. I was like, no,
Mhm.
don't.
Don't
But,
do
yeah,
that, dummy.
don't do
Mhm.
that.
I thought, yeah, this episode, it has that Walking Dead thing where, you know, Walking Dead's interesting because it draws in all kinds of fans, horror fans and drama fans and character fans,
Mhm.
people who thought they would never want to watch horror. One thing about a horror movie is it's kind of, some would say, sickly thrilling, because
Yeah.
you're watching people die and you're like rooting for, or you're yelling at them, don't be so stupid or whatever, but it's all thrilling. But a character drama, you're getting caught up in the feelings of it. You know, you're like, oh my God, Herschel is sick. And this has kind of both of those going on
Yeah.
at the same time. You're operating on two different levels, I feel like, especially with Herschel, where you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's so touching that they're afraid. And also he's going to bite your face off. So,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
really playing with that in an interesting way. So that's one reason
Yeah.
why I really liked it. Also the dynamics with the prisoners and seeing how our characters handle them. And I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah, we really care about them, and I think the amount of, I don't know, we've been there with them so long, and I think this season coming back and they're in such a scary place, and you just have
Mhm.
so much feeling for this character. It's just like it's painful, when we start to lose them. Definitely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like they've been a little bit coddled up until now in a way at the
Mm.
farm, and now they're like out in the scary world, and so it's like, holy shit, how are they going to handle it? So let's get into our points. Gemma, what do you got first?
I wanted to say about the state of Rick and Laurie's relationship.
Mhm.
The ending scene, I think, as well, is like it's, I think, the calm before the storm, really. But it's such a sad point where they are at their relationship, and they're touching on divorce. I think I got the line here. Oh yeah, Laurie says, for better for worse, right? I mean, what are we going to do, hire a lawyer and get divorced and split our assets? So I think if the apocalypse
Michonne's a
hadn't
lawyer,
happened.
we think.
Oh yeah. And she literally turns up like soon. If the apocalypse hadn't happened, then I think they would have got divorced, because they were having those conversations like at the beginning, or the flashback that we saw. But literally, like in this world, it's like death do us part. So there's literally the only way out of this for both is death. And the next, unfortunately, I don't want to spoilers like for those who haven't seen it, but that's what happens. So and it's sad for Rick because he doesn't even look at her on this bridge. Like they have a conversation, it's so tense. He can't make eye contact. He does touch her briefly, but she's like, "Oh, I thought you were coming out here to talk about us," and he can't. And I think when we see future episodes, he keeps revisiting this place, and seeing her on the bridge at this. And I think he missed this opportunity of actually talking to her. But I think their relationship is over.
Yeah, even if she wasn't, and no spoilers because this is a rewatch. It's
Yeah.
with the idea that everyone knows what's going to happen. So, even if she wasn't about to die in a couple episodes, I would question whether this relationship is over or not. It feels like it's over to me.
And then literally Michonne, like I said, turning up 24 hours later. I know they don't get together for like seasons and years, but I think that's really important because like she comes in to like fill this role, and then we see the difference of how he is in these two relationships. So you've got the coldness, and they can't get over what happened with Shane, whether it's the affair or his death, or from both sides, what happened. And then you got Michonne's like this huge love story that comes in for Rick, and you can see the difference between the two mothers of his children. And like with the When to Live, it's like passion and fire, and like just all the fire themes. The fire that was in the When to Live, all the redness and stuff, and you got this like complete comparison. So it's sad for Rick, but I think she needed to go. It's not, I didn't want it to go. Oh my god, like that episode 4 is brutal and it's horrible for everybody. But there was no future for Rick and Laurie, I think.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Do you want, Lucy? Why don't we just talk about this, and then you and I can go on to new points after that?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah,
you
absolutely.
Want to go first?
Yeah, I think the scene on the bridge. This is last week. Jason and I got confused about when Stuff and Things happened, and I was sure it happened on the bridge, but my brain had merged two scenes together. So apologies. He does only say it once. I just feel so bad for Laurie. Like, I feel so bad for her. She's trying so hard in this episode. Like, she's literally like a repentant woman in all of this. And I just almost started crying when, like, she's like sniffing at her shoulder after Rick leaves. It's clearly the first time he's touched her since they argued. And she's so touch-starved, and she must be terrified. And she's just had to, like, resuscitate the guy who can deliver her baby, who's now only got one leg. Like, it's just awful. And earlier in the episode, she says, oh, what's that excellent quote that she says about herself where she's like, I know that I'm a shitty wife and I'm not winning any Mother of the Year awards. And poor Laurie, because like, she's not the worst wife or the worst mother in The Walking Dead by a long shot. And Rick kind of saying, for the record, I don't think you're a bad mother, is like, in one sense, quite sweet, but in other sense, as she picks up on, pretty damning indictment of her as a wife. And they're just so estranged from each other, and it's just horrible to watch. Horrible to watch that scene and see that. And I just have such appreciation for Sarah Wayne Callies and what she does with that character and making us sympathetic for her in this season. Like, I don't feel anger towards her anymore or frustration. Like, I think she knows she fucked up and is trying to fix it. And you see that when she's saying to Rick, like, do what you have to do. And not for 1 second do I think there's malice in your heart, and do it with a clear conscience. Like, she's trying to say to him, like, it's okay, I get it.
She's behind him,
Yeah. And he's just like, well, you say this now. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I can understand why you would say that, but also she is trying, and she's pregnant, and like, give her a break. So yeah, poor Rick and Laurie. It's not a good time.
I think her pregnancy is like a visual reminder for Rick, not just the fact that she was unfaithful, but it's like a ticking time bomb, because he's had to bring them into this prison that's like really unsafe, and just had the thing happen with Herschel, and it's like I think it's the pressure for him is like building, that he doesn't know what to do in such an unsafe place, like a bomb.
Absolutely.
So who's the worst wife? I was trying to think.
Oh, good question.
I don't know. There aren't a lot of wives, but I think Laurie might actually be the worst one.
Oh no! Don't.
I mean, I don't know. I can't. Maybe somebody will bring up another one that's worse. I'm sure there must be.
I didn't like Jessie much. Jessie kind of sucked.
Jessie.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. I don't know. We'll think of one.
I mean, but her husband was even worse than her.
Yeah, that's true.
Carol wasn't very good to Ezekiel, was she? She was not the most big
fair point.
For Ezekiel.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah.
Carol's the worst wife. So yeah, I mean, I think, like I said last week, Rick is not handling this well, and he needs to communicate, even if to say, look, I'm confused right now. I don't know what I think. I need some time and space. He kind of did say that, but in a really dickish way. He needs to take the time to figure it out too. It's been 7 months, so I think that's enough time to figure it out, actually. And he should say, look, I'm sorry, but I I can't be your husband anymore, or we can't be together. I still will take care of you and protect you and the baby, but I don't feel connected to you anymore. Just say that, I mean, of course that wouldn't be, this is like my version of the psychologically healthy thing to do that wouldn't make good TV at all or good drama. But
how boring would The Walking Dead be? It would just be like,
But I just think that he's like just being a dick, and it's his own, like, sometimes like I said, I think last week too, he's just focused on action because he doesn't want to face this kind of thing. But anyway, like I don't blame him for feeling the way he does. I mean, when she says, what are your options? And Rick says, kill them. And she says, if that's what you think is best. And he goes, you say this now. And I just think, I'm glad they put that in there, because it really drives home the point that her reaction to him killing Shane was so detrimental to him, made him feel betrayed. He did that in part because of what she said, and then she reacted with disdain. And if I put myself in that situation, I might just leave her too. Like, oh man, I just killed my friend because of what you said, partly, and now this is how you're acting. I killed my friend. That's it. We're done. And then now she's whispering to him, just like in the tent, I know you're not a killer. There's no malice in your heart, but do what you have to do to keep this group safe, and do it with a clear conscience. I'd be like, yeah, sure. Whatever, Lori. Like, I'm not going to trust you anymore. It's like, I don't mean this towards you at all, but Lucy with the football is what I always think of.
Yeah, that Lucy. That's who I was named after, though. That's literally who I was named after, which I find really funny. I'm like, yeah, it is me.
And then, I mean, it's interesting. He's extending an olive branch to her, saying, I don't think you're a bad mother. I don't think he's doing that to suggest she's a bad wife. That is what comes of it. But I think he really just wants to say, look, I think you're a good mother. And then, well, wife is a different story, for better or for worse, right? I mean, what are we going to do? Hire lawyers, get divorced, and split our assets? I'm like, yeah, it's not a given that you'll stay together. And I think watching this the first time, I thought eventually they would work it out. But now I think Rick's done. And
he's emotionally checked out.
I think he doesn't want to be with her anymore. And he points out that Herschel would be dead if not for Lori. He's trying to be nice. And then she says, I thought you were coming out here to talk to us. Maybe there's nothing to talk about anymore. I think that the subtext of that is, do you still want to be with me? And then he pats her on the shoulder and says, we're awful grateful for what you did. The subtext of that is, no, I don't.
Yeah. It's when you put it like that. Yeah. Oh, geez, a pat on the shoulder.
Yeah. And he's trying, I mean, to be charitable to him, he's trying to say, look, I don't want to be with you anymore, but I am here for you. But he should say that. No subtext, just say it,
Oh, Rick.
So that's what I think about all that. So now that we talked that out, let's have Lucy go to a fresh point.
Sure. So I had forgotten that the prisoners are like a little time capsule. They don't know what the fuck has happened.
I love it.
And I kind of love that, especially with the group having become as slick as they have. It's really fun to play with this idea that this group of like feral men just don't know what the fuck's going on.
They're vulnerable. They're supposed to be the tough ones.
And from their perspective, like there's a line halfway through the episode. Is it Thomas or Tommaso?
I think it's Tomas.
Tomas halfway through the episode is like, why didn't you just take him to a hospital about Herschel? And then you realize, oh shit, they really don't know.
Yeah.
And it's that visual of the prisoners looking at the leg when the group have disappeared from the room again with the like makeshift gurney. Like, what a way to be woken out of your little kind of zombie coma and not knowing what's happening.
But what did they think? Like, because he says the reason why they didn't like remove the door is because whenever they start doing that, the zombies congregate around the outside. So they know that the guards left them there and have been gone for 10 months and that there's monsters outside. So do they think, the world's fine, but they're just like, well, that's the monster prison, so we need to stay away from that.
Honestly, I think Axel probably does.
It was just a prison, yeah.
I think Axel would fully believe that. He'd be like, yeah, that's for sure what happened. Like, it's wild. And just the way that they have to like school them in it. And you see, again, by contrast, how good our group is. And so the prisoners I've written, they're kind of like little babies. Like, they were locked up. So we find out they were locked up for 10 months in the cafeteria. There was one guard looking out for them who threw them a gun and told them to stay put. He disappeared. He must have been a good guard, because we see later that one of the cell blocks, everyone was just executed. Like, everyone was shot in the head by someone. And I'm annoyed at Axel because he screwed up the timeline, because the timeline is now approximate, because Axel says it's been 294 days, and I think Big Tiny says 292 days. And which is it?
Which is it?
So thanks.
It's only 2 day difference.
Only a 2 day difference.
Yeah, that's okay. I thought you were going to say,
but then
the
like
official,
the official timeline then says it's 296 days. So like my maps and my maths is all off.
I'm impressed that it's not further off.
If listeners can imagine that gif of the guy with the conspiracy theory wall, that's me with the timeline. Like, oh no. So they literally take the prisoners outside to show them what's happened. Rick, Rick, this time he's learned his lesson, tells them up front we're all infected. And Axel says like AIDS or something. And they explain the mechanics of it. Yeah. And the negotiations for land with Tomas of, you've got more food than you got choices. I did love Tomas jumping up to like, I've got personal artifacts in there. That says in the law that it's mine. I'm like, he knows the law. That's cool. But yeah, generally I just thought it was great kind of seeing different ways that people have survived and how they've been in this little bubble. Obviously the toilet cupboard is horrifying. I spent a lot of time today thinking how horrible a toilet cupboard with 296 days worth of human waste in it would smell, and I'm amazed Rick didn't actually throw up, so well done.
They really made that dramatic, because some writer was like, well, how do they go to the bathroom, and then they just made this dramatic moment out of it. Really funny.
And then Axel's like, I just want my own part to piss in, and I'm like, yeah, no shit. Literally, yeah, no shit, literally. The training that they get with the weapons is a really interesting kind of scene where we see the group teaching them what they know about staying in formation, just go for the brain. And then obviously there's the comedic scene of the corridors where they just go mental. It's like, as Rick calls it, prison riot crap.
I thought that was silly, because there's 3 people that say you need to get him in the brain, and they know, they've heard them growling outside, they've seen the cannibalistic behavior, so to not at least, then they just go start beating them like prison and shanking them prison riot style, and it made for a fun scene, but you'd think at least one of them would take that to heart and try for the brain.
But they do learn. They do learn.
They do learn pretty quick.
Yeah.
Oscar, but Tomas is like, we know how to do it.
Yeah. With his, did you notice he held his gun sideways like Shane told Jimmy not to in season 2? He's like, this
oh no, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. I was like, I thought it was interesting how they set up Oscar and Axel as being the most competent of the prisoners as well. They're kind of being set apart a little bit subtly, but they're set apart from the others as being able to step up. I'm always really distracted with Axel, because Jason can confirm or deny. Did they intend for Axel to have his comic book storyline, or was he always just going to be a bumbling bumpkin?
They intended for him to lure Beth out into the woods and be a serial killer and kill her.
My gosh.
I don't know when they changed their mind. I think it was into the writing of the season. So I think, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think during this episode, the intention was for him to turn out to have been a serial killer, but I could be wrong about that. But anyway, at some point they changed their mind and said, no, that's too bleak. And he just ended up being a good guy, which I thought was pretty cool. And then the way he did die, which was very sudden, he's walking along with Carol, who they kind of had a chemistry going, and he just gets shot in the head. And it's like, oh my God, any life could be taken at any moment.
Yeah.
He does hit on her, though, in a future episode. He's sitting too close to her and he's staring, and he says something suggestive, and Carol pulls him aside, and she's like, don't look at her. So I'm wondering if they were still thinking of that around the time. So
he hits on Beth?
Yeah.
Gemma's right.
He's sitting really close to her, like almost like this. So I just held my hand up from my face. Yeah,
because I think in the comic books he is pedophile and child murderer, both.
I think that story would have been really interesting with Axel, to have him turn out to be, because he seems the most harmless, and he says he likes his pharmaceuticals, so you think he's in jail for drugs, which now the way the story turned out probably was, but the idea was that no, he's a serial killer. That would have been a really interesting, thrilling story. But I kind of like the way it did turn out too, that I actually started to like him by the end and be sad when he was gone.
Because in the comics, I'm just double checking this.
He's this big dude with a beard in the comics.
Yeah, he's a big dude with a beard.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think I like him better as he is in the show. I think Lou Temple plays him really well. Although I have a lot of time for Oscar. I always felt Oscar got killed off way too soon.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
He's a sweetheart. And the contrast between the two of them, where Axel's like begging for his life, and he's like, I want to live, and Oscar's just like, if you're gonna kill me, you're gonna kill me.
Begging for my life,
yeah. He's like, I'm not doing it, and you can see Rick's kind of like respect.
That
he's
might
like,
have been what saved
his game.
Axel's life.
Yeah, and so Oscar and Axel are kind of quickest to kind of get how to kill the zombies. With Big Tiny, have we had it confirmed in canon that scratch would have killed him? Have we ever seen anyone die from a scratch? I mean, it was a gross scratch, like it was a bone scratch. But I'm interested. I'm sort of
only that Morgan said, "Have you been bit, scratched, anything like that?" But I don't think we can take that as a confirmation that a scratch will turn you into a Zed. I think not, actually.
Well, we'll never find out because of Tommaso.
He didn't get bitten.
He didn't get bitten.
Oh, he only got
got scratched.
I think I remember talking about that back in the day. Now at this point.
So you see a walker's hand slip off, like the whole hand slips off, and it's just the bones that are left.
Oh,
he scratches him with the bones. Oh, disgusting.
No, I think I hated watching that yesterday. I can't watch it.
I love
brutal.
Yes.
So brutal. And I think that is when Thomas signs his death warrant, is when he beats Big Tiny to death like that.
That death was horrible.
But to me, like, because Rick, was he saying we can chop his arm off? Because and then he Big Tiny was like, I'm fine, I'm not going to turn into one of those things. Like, how do you know? But then you're like, okay, is Rick going to have to kill him, and then the other prisoners are just going to be totally anti-Rick because they don't know anything about any of this and they won't trust him. So that when Tomas did that, I thought, okay, it's good that one of their own did that. So then it's not.
It was just the way he did it. It was unnecessary. It was like a full-on
brutal.
Like his head was gone, and it was a brutality. His face went.
I don't know why I didn't even think about that, but you're so right.
It was feral. It was like, because that's what Rick and Daryl are saying is, did you see the look on his face? And it's like, And
Daryl, but I don't think that's when he signed his death warrant. I think it was when he tried to attack.
They were considering it, though. I think if
they were
they were waiting for it.
They were considering it. But they were. I mean, who knows? Maybe Rick had planned to make the first move, but Tomas just went first. But I don't. I would guess that no, they were just waiting to see if the prisoners were going to do anything, and they were ready for it, and they did. So they did.
I agree with that.
And that brings me nicely to the end, which is Tommaso swipes at Rick with his weapon. He also pushes a walker at him, and then he gets a machete to the head. And then Rick chases Andrew, because Andrew, the impression we get is that Andrew's a wrong un, like he's a bad guy. But Rick leaves him out with the walkers, ostensibly to die. Probably should have double tapped that one, Rick, but here we are. But it's interesting that Rick looks doubtful about what he's done as he's walking away. You can see on his face that he's not.
You hear screams. I think he's more like, did I do the right thing there? That's my take on it.
Yeah, that's what I mean, is he's not sure about what he's done. He's like, was that right?
Got it.
I'm very confused about how Andrew survived. Like, very confused. Especially making all that fucking noise.
Things.
Like, whatever. It's cool. Fine. He had an identical twin.
I checked the Walking Dead wiki again. Apparently when he's screaming, you can hear like the chain link fence or something. You can hear him climb over. But you're so busy listening to him screaming, you're not listening for the chain link fence. I don't know if this is right or not, but I assumed he was dead. So
and then,
it's one of those things that the woman in Misery, played by Kathy Bates,
Oh,
Would just be,
yeah.
that's not fair. I heard him screaming he was dead.
Oh man. Well, in the laundry room, we get a bit of Red Rick because he's furious at Axel and
Yeah.
Oscar. As I say, they play that scene very differently, and then they take them to the cell block. I did laugh when Axel was like, they were good men, and I'm like, they were all in prison, like literally all of them. Some of them probably were good men, but like, you know,
I like that because I like the idea that
he saw.
We're our reaction is these guys are prisoners, they're bad, and they are bad in some ways. Probably some of them may have been convicted wrongly. You don't know. We don't know.
That's true.
But also people are complex, and like say Axel, he had a drug problem, and who knows what he did to satisfy that. But that doesn't mean that he didn't have a lot of other good qualities about him. And so anyway, I just like the idea because they're going to stay in a prison. So yes, bring in some prisoners, then have all of our complicated feelings about them and challenge those, to a degree. And I think especially if you're in a prison and you get to know your fellow prison mates, then you will recognize good qualities about different people. And maybe to say they're good men is, I don't know, man, they did something bad, but
I just look at everyone's face of like,
Did you ever watch Orange Is the New Black?
Loved it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Such a good show.
So there's so many different types of prisoners in that show, and they do different things, don't they? From, very basic to
and
like murder.
Levels of character, too.
Yeah, and some of them are really great people. So
for sure.
I love that show.
Me too. I love that show.
Wondered if Axel reminded Daryl of a gentle Merle or somebody like Daryl would have grown up with, because Daryl, when he says sorry about your friends, man, he means it. Like, he does mean it. And I wonder if for Daryl there is a bit of like, I could have been on the other side of this. I could have been in the prison. And I thought that was a nice moment.
Tough guys and he can relate or something.
Well, he's better with them than Rick is in many ways, like teaching them what to do and kind of keeping them in check a little bit. Like, they seem to listen to respond to him a little bit more. And I love the fact that he was standing with his crossbow ready while everyone else was in with Laurie and Herschel and that, waiting for the prisoners to come, because he knew they would come to see what was going on. And I thought it was very interesting that Rick, and understandable that Rick never really shows the prisoners who's beyond the gate, so they don't know that it's essentially women and children and an old man with
that's interesting. I didn't think about that, because I kept thinking, wonder how why aren't the women there to see how they would handle it, because there's all this posturing going on and trying to be assertion of dominance, and I'm like, why aren't I want to see what the women, but I think you're right, they kept everybody else aside on purpose. But I think just that there is it's like, at least what we've learned from watching prison movies and TV shows, and from what I've read, is at least somewhat based in reality, that you go into prison and you need to like do something to show that you're someone to be reckoned with, so that people don't fuck with you. Who knows how true that is, but I think it must be some truth to it. So that's what Tomas is doing, and Rick too. They're both just posturing so they both know not to mess with each other. And who knows how necessary that is. You kind of wonder, is Rick just asking to have an enemy here, or is this what he absolutely needs to do in order not to get killed? I don't know.
Because you see those moments where the guys are trying to be like nice and friendly, and like Tommaso's just like, "Are we done sucking each other's dicks?" or something, or swinging. I don't remember what he says, but I thought that was
leader.
I'm amazed they
definitely trying to
survived
be
for 10 months. They would have killed each other.
Well, I know. I love that they're like, there's not much food left. They said it twice, and then when you get to the food, there's a shit ton left. It's funny.
I bet they weren't rationing either. They were just eating.
So a couple things that came up for me while you were saying your point is that, like, it's interesting throughout The Walking Dead, Rick and his crew encounter people and they seem dangerous because of what they've been through. And I think this is the first instance of that. You maybe with Herschel a little bit, but not really. Herschel encountered them because Oda shot Carl, and they just seemed worried, more than anything. And Herschel was wary of them, but more because he didn't want them to discover what was in the barn, I would think, than that they seemed sketchy at all. But here is really the first time where their first interaction with these people is they drag this old guy in here, chop his fucking leg off, and then drag the man off and leave leave them alone with this severed leg.
It's so baller. Like, what a move. Rick would be king
Like,
of the
who are
prison.
these people?
He'd be king
Yeah.
of the fucking prison. It'd be like,
Yeah,
that guy
that
cut
was
a
the
guy's
move.
leg off.
That was the dominance move right there.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is Rick tells Tomas that at least half the population was wiped out, probably more. But according to Robert Kirkman, at least in the comic, he said only about 1.6 million people survived, which is about 0.02% of the world's population at the time. So 98.08% died, which is hard to imagine. That means billions of Zeds. And Kirkman said there are vast dead zones out there.
Yeah, scary. Like Texas.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, so my turn, right?
Yes.
So dealing with the prisoners. So I think it's a great idea to have prisoners left in this prison for high drama. And our first reaction is, oh, these are bad people. And Daryl's seems to have the same reaction. He's waiting there with his crossbow when they first go in and drag Herschel off.
Can I say his line there?
Yeah, what is
that I
it?
love. So here you go. Right. So congrats, fellas. You have been pardoned by the state of Georgia. You're free to go.
Get the hell out of here.
Love it.
Yeah. And,
So good.
And I don't blame them for being cautious. I mean, for one thing, anyone is potential danger in zombie apocalypse, but these are prisoners and you don't know what crimes they committed, what kind of people they are. And that's what makes it thrilling to watch. And then they have the story challenge that a little, which I love. And it's a good story for Rick too, because he was a cop and he probably sent a few guys here, you know, to this prison or to ones like it. I don't know if I realized this when we were covering this the first time, but this is presenting Rick with the same kind of problem he had to deal with on the farm, because there's Herschel's zombie relatives in the barn, and that's a threat. And do we keep that or neutralize it? And then Randall comes along, another threat, deciding what to do with him. Now we have the prisoners, but now with this thing of Rick taking on the characteristics of his enemies that he vanquishes, maybe we wonder if he'll handle it how Shane would have more. So that's kind of what I had in my mind watching through this. And he's dealing with a lot. He's trying to size them up, decide how cutthroat or how compassionate he wants to be. Also thinking how he could turn the situation to his advantage and trying to assert dominance to have control over the situation using prison logic. And so that's where he goes up against Tomas, who's doing the same thing and wants to claim his territory. And it's this whole prison world that he's used to, having to be tough. And you brought up Orange is the New Black. Like, you think maybe this is just like a man thing, but they do similar things on that show, you know, where it's all women, maybe not quite the same flavor, but similar, asserting dominance and claiming their territory and stuff like that. And Genji Kohan is the showrunner of that, based on Piper Kerman's memoir. It's a great show, I thought.
So good.
I loved it. Yeah.
So then they start negotiating, and Tomas agrees to move to another cell block in exchange for weapons, which turns out to be like clubs and stuff. Rick doesn't give them any guns. And Rick wants half the food from the cafeteria. And when Tomas said there's only a little left, and Rick said, we'll take half, I got a chill down my spine.
Little bit.
A little bit Negan.
A little bit of Negan in there. And then I think, okay, that's a pretty good deal for the prisoners, given the situation, that Rick's going to help them clear out this cell block, which means putting himself in danger and killing more Zeds. And so I don't know. I feel like this shows a difference between Rick and Negan. When Rick takes half, it's part of a negotiation where, at least apparently, both sides have choice. And Rick is putting himself at risk, giving something back to help clear out the space for them and letting them stay there with him. And he only asks for half, even though his group, Rick's group, has more than twice as many people. And when Negan takes half, there's no choice involved. He kills one of their people, so someone's for sure going to die with Negan's way. Actually, maybe sometimes he didn't, but I think a lot of times he just went in and killed one person just to show, you know, that he was dominant. And so when Rick says to Tomas, I'll kill you if you go near my people, that's his version of that. He threatens him, but Negan's version is to actually kill someone. And then I was thinking, what if Shane were here? Like, he would have either insisted that these convicts leave, or more likely just killed them right off the bat. Because if there's one thing we know about Shane, he doesn't stand for letting threats hang around. And if he let them go, they may just come back. Same as with Randall. So when that was going through my head, I was thinking, well, we know that this guy, Andrew, who lets the zombies out that end up trapping Lori away from Herschel and Carol, who could have maybe helped her in childbirth, then I do think there's at least somewhat of a chance that Lori would have survived longer if Shane would have been there, because Shane probably would have just killed them all,
Yeah.
But
no
then
hesitation.
but then going through it, so they're clearing out the cell block. The tensions are high. They don't trust each other. They're watching out for if someone's going to make a move. And then Tomas opens both doors instead of just one to create chaos, then slashes at Rick and then throws a zombie at him. And I don't blame Rick at all. Nope, you're dead.
No.
You got to go down. Iconic machete to the head.
Machete to the face.
Scene there,
Machete.
yeah.
Who said that? Machete to the face.
I think
Somebody
Cindy
said that.
did.
Oh, is
Cindy,
it? Like,
I
machete
think
to
so.
the face.
Machete to the face, yeah. And so Rick, Andrew runs off. So he runs off, and Rick locks him out with the zombies. I don't think season 2 Rick would have done that. He thought he did kill him there, I think. And I feel like that is a little bit of Shane's influence. And I went back and looked. All Andrew did was raise his bat to Rick after Rick killed his friend. And then Andrew ran away. I'm like, that's a pretty reasonable response. I could definitely see myself doing the same thing. And it's possible Rick could have still made an ally out of Andrew, but now no chance, he's an enemy for sure. And your wife is dead. And I think Rick ends up realizing he's somewhat at fault, which is why he's so haunted and driven crazy by it. He should have either tried to bring Andrew in or just killed him. This was a half-ass solution that came back to bite him in the ass.
Yeah. He learns his lesson, though. I think he afterwards is very reluctant to let people live. So
yes, that's right.
With the claimers, the claimers are gone, and then the termites. Yeah.
So back with the others in the room, Axel's like saying, "No, please, spare my life." And then he said, Oscar here, he's a B&E and he ain't very good at it either. I think that means breaking and entering.
Yeah.
And he says, we ain't the violent kind they were. Well, that makes me think they were. Who's they? It must mean Andrew too, right? Tomas and Andrew. So maybe Andrew was a bad guy and maybe he had to go. Yeah. Then anyway, they get back to their cell block and you see the dead prisoner shot in the head. And I liked that. I like that whole sequence because they're like, you're going to leave us here. This is sick. And they're like, basically, dude, this is the world we live in now. Be tough, deal with it, drag the bodies out and burn them. Like T-Dog and Daryl both seemed really sincerely trying to be kind here when Daryl said, I'm sorry about your friends. And T-Dog said, hey, let me give you some advice, drag them out and burn them. They're like trying to show a little bit of like, it's okay, or I don't know, something nice, rather than just compassion.
They don't last in there though. They only last like a couple of hours, and then they're back out with Rick's crew in episode 4 because they are around. Yeah, when it's
they're around.
That's going down. Yeah,
but they're good guys, both of them.
Yeah,
I need to interject that I double checked about Axel in the comics. It's actually Andrew in the comics. He's a completely different character. He's like a white man in his 40s who is the serial killer, but Axel is wrongly blamed. So we just perpetrated the same offense. We wrongly blamed Axel. But I think we all assumed Axel might get some of the attributes of the other prisoners from the story. So just in case any comic readers were like,
I like that.
You idiots. So just there we go.
Cool. Okay. Gemma, what else you got?
About Herschel getting bit and then his leg chopped off. Like, he is such an important part of the group that I think you guys said last week he shouldn't have been out on that mission anyway, because he's the only he's a vet, but he's the only doctor with medical things. So it's down to Laurie really and Carol to save the situation. His leg has been cut off and they do say that the veins are bleeding out, and I'm like, well, what did they do? They didn't really resolve what they did to stop the bleeding other than bandages, and Carl Carl brings more bandages. But they didn't cauterize it as Rick does later on with himself. So they just hope for the best, really, and tie him up. And Laurie resuscitates him, which leads to this like really, really tense moment of you think that he's going to bite her and everyone's screaming. And I remember my heart just like, oh my God. So that was really tense. Yeah, and this is one of the first times that Herschel is in serious danger. Then there's like quite a few other moments. Maggie has to process this as well in her mind. Like, she's saying goodbye to him. It's okay to go, Dad, if you want to go, whereas Beth doesn't want him to go. And then you see the toughness starting to come out in Maggie. Like, this is one of the I know she's already lost her like mother and her brother and whatever, but the threat to Herschel is really important, and it's starting to show her like strength and bravery. And unfortunately for Maggie, it's the first in a series of a lot of tragedy that we're still watching, I think, to this day, in the spin-offs.
Dealing with their damn son now.
Yeah. And Herschel's a bit of a brat, isn't he? So well, that's the impression I got anyway. So I think just the importance of Herschel being like this father figure, like the patriarch that Rick looks up to and Glenn looks up to, and they're all counting on this guy, and he's out of commission at the minute, and it's so important for Laurie's story that. I don't want to include Carol in this point, but it triggers something that she does in the episode as well. And I just think, oh, Herschel, I just love him. You know, he's such a good character, and I think maybe this prepares us for what eventually does happen to him. Maybe, but he gets his hero episode as well before that, and that is one of my favorite episodes. I absolutely love that episode for Herschel. He's just amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so relieved that even in hindsight that he survived this, because his best moments are yet to come. And yeah, it makes you, maybe you're right, it makes you feel like, well, he died a horrible death not too long after this, but at least he got some more time and we got to have some of his best moments, you know.
We got Spaghetti Tuesdays, is it? Am I right? Yeah.
Oh, one time... that reminds me, there was this, when we used to go to Walker Stalker Con and Karen was there. Maybe this was the first year. I don't remember. She went a couple times, but they always had these great costume parties and just amazing. And there was this, like fixture with a picnic table and Herschel's head on top and some spaghetti. So it was pretty gruesome, right? And she went over and kissed the head, and it turns out it was a person because he like looked up at her and she didn't she kind of scared her.
That's amazing. I love that.
So do we want to go on with our Herschel points or?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just thinking to myself here. Yeah, I think it is a bit suspension of disbelief that he survived that amputation. I'll tell you, a moment where I was like actually quite mad at Laurie was how mad she was at Carl, because Carl had just done something pretty fucking heroic. And I can understand that she's worried about him and it comes from love, but I did feel for Carl in that moment, and then having his crush tell him to be nicer to his mum, I was like, oh, that's so humiliating. Also, I believe CPR doesn't actually work quite a lot of the time. So I'm always a bit like, really? When someone resuscitates somebody like that on TV. But some of the things I liked about Herschel's incapacitation were, like, there was some really nice moments between Carol and Laurie. I always like their friendship on screen, and when they were saying, like, you look disgusting and so do you, there's a kind of bonded closeness there between the two of them. And I found that nice. And I thought Maggie played her grief so well. And in a way, I think she'd kind of accepted that he was gone. I thought it was interesting that she didn't run in to try and do CPR on him or do anything. She's kind of in shock. And that's understandable. Like, no judgment to her. I'm not like, why didn't you do that, Maggie? You're so selfish. Like,
well, I am a little bit like, because she's just like, you can go, you can give up. He's probably going to die. And I'm like, maybe have a little hope, like, come on.
I think she's in the comics, they touch on Maggie being quite prone to depression and like not being quite all there with her mental health a lot of the time. And I did wonder when I watched this the first time around if this was them touching on that, but in a way I just think she's bracing herself for the worst. I kind of
Absolutely.
understand that. I'm
yeah,
like,
I understand
yeah.
it too, but it's like
Maybe that's how she copes going forward as well, with like everything
Mhm.
that happens, after
Yeah.
Glenn, she just gets up. I know it's all horrible, but she just gets up and get in the caravan, and then processes it later, I think.
To me,
Yeah.
it's similar to Rick not communicating. It's like, okay, I understand it. You're really hurt,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
has an impact on the people around you,
I thought the moment where Herschel woke up while Laurie was giving him mouth to mouth was so stressful. And I loved the image of Laurie and the greens, because Laurie is actually really sweet to Maggie and Beth. Like, she takes on a kind of maternal role with the two of them.
Yeah.
And they're kind of pinned back against the wall in horror, and then it pulls out, and little psycho Carl standing there with his gun, which is quite right. It's the right thing to do. But I always just laugh when it's Carl in his hat being like, I'm gonna shoot someone. I'm like, oh. I did like later when Laurie says room for Carl to do whatever it is he does now, because I was like, yeah, he's not having a very normal childhood, is he? But yeah, Herschel wakes up.
He turns out well, though. He turns out like a nice boy. A nice
he turns
boy.
out good.
Yeah.
And when Herschel wakes up, he shakes Rick's hand, or wants to hold Rick's hand, and then Rick kind of hands him back to his daughters, which I thought was a really nice beat to see.
He didn't. I don't think he had one line, did he? This episode must have been pretty boring for Scott Wilson. Just lay there most of the time.
Funny you should say that. In the IMDb deep dive, it does mention that Scott Wilson kept falling asleep. Because the beds were surprisingly comfy. I'm like, oh, there you go. So I mean, it's probably quite authentic. I wonder if they had to dub out any snoring.
It's funny. Nice. What do I have to say about it? I love the story because, as I said at the top, it's played as if it's any drama where someone's sick or hurt and the characters are afraid they'll die. But this almost meta Walking Dead thing where they're playing with us and making us think that he might turn into a Zed and kill one of them. And it really is that horror movie trope of characters being kind of dumb and so will yell at the screen. And I think it's really fun, especially now that we know he makes it through and watching it now. And so when they bring him through into the cell block, they rush him in to get him onto the bed at the beginning right after they've chopped up his leg. I was watching Beth because she's just lost so much and had a hard time handling it. She's so young, and she just said, is he going to die? And I was like, oh. And then Rick tells Glenn he needs to stay by Herschel's side and says, if he dies, you need to be here for that. And I'm noticing more that there's subtext in what they're saying. And I always think it's better writing when they do that versus saying, if he comes back, you're going to have to kill him, when he says,
and Maggie will be there and she might be upset because she's his daughter and a woman, and like, she'll be upset. So just like fucking kill him. Okay. Like, yeah, we get it.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it has. I think Maggie, because that touches on another thing. Glenn, I was mentioning last week how that episode started to feel more like how The Walking Dead became different things, like Herschel being this wise old grandpa type or whatever. And this episode has Glenn not being so goofy and insecure, but just being more solid. And here he's holding space for Maggie. It's transitional because I think he shouldn't have let Carol talk him into leaving his post, know? But anyway, so I don't think, to me, that doesn't have anything to do with gender. It's just Maggie is about to lose her father and she needs somebody there for her. You know what I mean? But anyway.
But Rick has told him as well, you need to stay here. And I think Glenn listens to Rick. Like, obviously, like, Glenn looks up to Rick so much and respects him, and he doesn't want to go back on his word to Rick. So, you can tell how much Glenn loves Rick.
But then he does go back on it. So
yeah, well, he does,
yeah. Like, he should have just said, no, sorry, Carol, tell me what you want, and we'll do that later or whatever. So then, let's see, Beth wants a moment alone with Herschel. I'm like, no, Beth. and it's touching but tense. And then Maggie encourages him to let go and stop fighting. And she's like, did she hug him or did Beth hug him? One of
Maggie
them did.
Definitely did.
Maggie did, yeah.
And I'm like, that's really sweet, but you're going to get killed right now, and that's exactly what the writers want us to be feeling. Like, don't get so close. And then, Glenn leaves because Carol says she needs him for something. And I think that was so they could have that scene about her wanting to do the C-section, but also so because they want to create this sense of worry, like, wait, he's the guy that's supposed to be watching in case Herschel comes back so he can take care of it. Now they're taking him away. Something bad is about to happen, and then when Herschel stopped breathing and Laurie does mouth to mouth, and it's harrowing because you hope she succeeds, but also harrowing because he may bite her lips off.
The stakes are high. Like,
And then he pops up and his arms shoot out. And I'm like, that'd be so funny if everyone on TV, when they're getting mouth to mouth, that's how they came back,
Yeah.
They do the whole jump scare thing. And so it's so funny. But anyway, points for Laurie. Again, this episode, she saved Herschel's life, and that's a big deal.
It really is. I think Glenn, I loved his moment where he was just talking it through with Carol. He's like, I know what you're asking is logical. I know that. I know this is something that we need to do. I know that. It's sane, but it's still weird. And I'm like, yeah, there would be more moments like that in the apocalypse of like, okay. Whew, still weird though. Like, I love that. Yeah. And that seems the right balance of like earnest but not goofy with Glenn that we like.
And that's kind of what I have to do, having a doctor for a wife, if she starts telling me some of the details of what she has to do. That's how I feel. Like, but it has to be done though.
I love that. I love that. I'd be like, ooh, tell me more. Ooh.
Well, I'm going to take this part out, but not so much. You don't want to hear about that. Yeah.
But they're so okay, right, never mind. Yeah, okay, never mind. This is I think my brain's not right sometimes. I'm like, but also,
I mean, it has to be done. It has to be done.
Yeah.
All right, Gemma.
I think
got any more?
last point is Carol. Okay.
Yeah.
And from the difference between her, they start setting up. I think they started setting it up last episode with her being able to shoot and just becoming more and more useful to the group. And then this episode starts her like her able to like she's able to forward think and practicality, and then she's making decisions for the group. She's not really running by anybody else other than Glenn because she needs his help, but she has forming a plan in her mind. And then this is one of Carol's skills that we will see continuously through the season, whether it's good or bad. There's something coming up in season 4 that she does that's not the best decision, but it's a decision that she makes for the good of the group. So again, this is her starting with this, and I think it's a really good idea actually. Like she says, there's cadavers like all around us, so she needs Glenn's help to bring one in to practice a C-section on, because she knows that Laurie has had a C-section with Carl, and it's most likely to happen